All right, let's just jump right in. We are absolutely swimming in AI, right? It's on our phones, it's in our cars, it's changing our jobs. But there's a massive hidden flaw in how most of it works. And that's what we're going to unpack today. And more importantly, what comes next. So, a lot of what we're talking about comes from the work of Dr. Yogesh Malhotra, who's been way ahead of the curve on this for decades. And he starts with this bombshell of a statement. It just kind of flips the table on everything we've been told about big data being the answer to everything. And that leads us to the real heart of the matter. If data is basically just a snapshot of the past, how do we get AI to do more than just repeat what it's already seen? How do we get it to stop driving by the rearview mirror and actually start thinking about the road ahead? Okay, section 1. Let's dig into this hidden flaw, the trap of just learning on repeat. So here's the thing. Most of the AI we use today, it runs on something called single loop learning. And it's actually a pretty simple idea. Just picture a thermostat in your house. It's great at its one job. If the room gets too cold, it turns the heat on. If it gets too hot, it turns it off. It corrects errors to meet its goal. But it can never stop and ask, hey, is 72 degrees even the right temperature for today? It just follows the rules it was given. And that's the massive risk right there. The AI gets incredibly efficient at doing the same task over and over. It gets really good at doing things right, but it has absolutely no ability to ask if it's doing the right thing. And in a world that changes as fast as ours, an AI that can't question its own programming is an AI that's basically designed to become obsolete. So if single loop is the problem, what's the solution? Well, that brings us to section 2, the double loop leap. This is all about teaching AI to finally ask that all-important question, why? This is the real game changer that Dr. Malhotra talks about. Double loop learning is like upgrading our thermostat. Now, it can't just change the temperature. It can also check the weather forecast, look at the calendar, and say, you know what? It's the middle of July. Let's rethink this whole heating goal and switch to cooling instead. It questions the fundamental assumptions of its own system. So here it is, side by side. Single loop is all about playing by the rules and getting better at the game. But double loop, it's about having the ability to stop and change the rules of the game itself. It's really the difference between being a great chess player and being the person who invents chess. And at the end of the day, it all boils down to this. Single loop is obsessed with efficiency, just doing things right. Double loop is focused on something much deeper, effectiveness. It's about doing the right thing. And that is a huge leap from just making a process faster to actually making it smarter. Okay, cool idea. But how on earth do you actually build an AI that can do this? That brings us to section 3, and a concept Dr. Malhotra calls building quantum minds. Now, quantum minds sounds super intimidating, I know, but don't get hung up on the physics. The core idea is actually pretty intuitive. It's about designing an AI that doesn't just see one straight path forward. Instead, it's constantly exploring tons of different possible futures, weighing probabilities, and looking for the strategy that's not just the most efficient, but the most resilient and adaptable to whatever might come next. So how do you get there? Dr. Malhotra gives us a 4-step playbook. First, you need real-time feedback, so the AI is always learning from what's happening right now. Second, you use feed-forward learning. That's a fancy way of saying it uses predictive models to guess what's coming next. Third, you add in behavioral loops to see what people are actually doing, not just what they say they're doing. And the final step, and this is the big one, is you have to build the entire system to embrace uncertainty. You treat change and complexity not as errors to be fixed, but as opportunities to learn. All right, so enough with the theory. What does this actually look like when you apply it to the real world? Let's take a look at a real-world application, education. So think about this. A normal single-loop AI tutor is basically a fancy flashcard machine. It drills a student on facts to get a better test score. But a double-loop AI tutor, it would notice a student is getting bored and ask why. Is material too easy? Too hard? Is there a different way to explain it that might click? It would literally change its own teaching strategy on the fly for that specific student. The goal isn't just a better grade, it's a better, more engaging learning experience. And this hints at a much deeper idea here. Dr. Malhotra argues that we're too focused on just fixing what's broken. That's a very single-loop way of thinking. The real breakthrough comes from what's called appreciative inquiry, which is all about finding what's already working, what's showing promise, and then figuring out how to pour gas on that fire. And this right here is what Dr. Malhotra calls the real AI. It's such a powerful idea. The technology, the artificial intelligence, that's just the tool. The goal, the real AI, is appreciative inquiry. It's using this incredible tool to unlock and amplify human potential, not just to patch up our flaws. So let's zoom all the way out. Section 5, our post-GPT future. Why does any of this actually matter to you and me? I mean, just look at this quote. This is from the Wall Street Journal in 1998. He was talking about adapting to discontinuous environmental change back then. He was basically describing the world we live in right now. In today's economy, being able to adapt like this isn't just a nice skill to have. It's a flat-out survival strategy for any company and for any one of us. And that's really the call to action for all of us, isn't it? This isn't just about building better AI. It's about adopting this mindset ourselves. We have to be willing to question our own assumptions, our own ways of doing things, to basically obsolete our own knowledge before the world does it for us, because that is how you stay ahead of the curve. So I'll leave you with this question, because as we build this future, this is the fundamental choice that we get to make. Are we building AI that just gets better and better at replacing the things humans already do? Or are we building AI that can question the rules, that can ask why, and that ultimately enhances our own ability to think, to create, and to adapt to whatever comes next?